I really hope this isn't a decision I come to regret. Good morning and welcome to Build episode number 16. It is a bloody brisk one this morning, and in today's episode I'm hoping to tackle what is the last of the really major jobs of this van conversion. Last week I got rid of the electrical out of the way and that really did my head in, so I'm a bit of a masochist because I'm jumping straight into plumbing today. However, it is going to be so good to have it done, and then really it's just the finishing touches on the van after that. But before I can get into actually putting all the plumbing together, I first have to install these two large water tanks that I had custom made under the van. Now, these tanks I got made by Atlas Tanks. They're a company out of Queensland and they custom make tanks to fit your kind of space that you need. Because I'm installing them under the van, as you can imagine, the spaces under the Iveco are pretty weird. So this is the kind of shape that they kind of had to deal with. These tanks are super solid and made of really thick material, so they're going to be strong enough to go underneath. And the nice thing about the Australian climate is that it doesn't get so cold that tanks are going to freeze underneath, which by putting them under there, you free up a lot of space in your van. It also makes it a little bit less critical for your plumbing fittings. If one of them leaks underneath, it just goes onto the road. The problem is it's a pain in the ass to install it because you're working in an enclosed space. That's where my friend Rob comes in. I'm about to go to his workshop and hopefully he's going to help me get them up there. Hopefully we can do it in a few hours. Wish me luck.
I'm a freak, I'm an outcast, I'm a shadow. I stand with the lost souls, looking for a hustle. Got a pulse on the streets, I'm the one you won't look in the eye, no. Yeah, well, I can see what's headed for you down that road.
Looking bloody strong, mate.
Strong.
Where's that going?
Going absolutely nowhere.
When the monster crawls out of the sea, you're gonna need somebody like me. When your brother's got blood in the streets, you better call somebody like me. I was made in the shadows, where the light ain't allowed to go. When the line gets a little blurry, you're gonna need somebody like me.
Good morning. It is cold and miserable out there today, but I have just gotten the second coat of paint on the tank mounts. They are looking awesome. Jack and Rob did a killer job. I'll show you them a bit more as I put them up. And I have to say there was two things that did motivate me to get up this morning. The first was absolutely huge in that I heard from Lee and Occy has just ticked off his final vet check, which means out of the whole 6-month process of getting him ready to fly to Australia, and there's so much in that process, he's done. He is now eligible to fly to Australia as soon as we can get an international flight booked. And that is proving to be tricky, but hopefully it is soon. He could be here as soon as 2 weeks. So fingers crossed for Occy, and I will let you guys know as soon as we do have a flight locked in. The other thing that got me motivated to get up this morning, which also motivates me every morning, as you guys know, is coffee. That is bloody delicious. I want to say a huge thank you to Trade Coffee for sponsoring today's video. If you've been following along on this channel for a while, I actually first introduced you to Trade when I was in Australia last time at the start of last year, and bloody hell, it's good. So essentially the way Trade works, if you don't know what it is what they do is they help take the guesswork out of picking a really good coffee. Say you get overwhelmed at the grocery store, or in current times if you're just avoiding going to the grocery store, which is completely fair enough. Trade takes kind of the guesswork out of all that coffee, and it matches your personal coffee preferences and delivers it straight to your door. And how Trade achieves that is simply you take the Trade quiz, tell Trade how you like your coffee, and they'll curate matches just for you. Step 2 is getting it to your door. So simply choose the frequency that you want it delivered and it'll turn up on your doorstep freshly roasted. And finally, the third step is rate and repeat. Rate the matches that you've already had so that Trade can continue to smash out the perfect choices of coffee just for you that you are gonna love. It is as easy as that. Click the link below to get 30% off your first bag when you sign up, and free delivery is included. Let me know what you think of your coffee when it arrives. All right, guess it's time to get under the van. Okay, first tank is ready to go up. It is the grey water tank, and as you can see, I've put some rubber on the top and kind of anywhere that it might hit, as well as on the actual bars holding it up, and that is going to allow me to kind of sandwich the tank up and protect it so it's not rubbing on metal or anything. You'll also note that I have already put in, this is the breather hose for the grey water. Tank 1 is up. I did smack myself right in the head with one of these rods in the process, but with the rubber as well, that is so solid up there. Like, the piece de resistance is going to be this Colorbond panel. It's like it was made for that space. And so what that's going to do is that's going to provide protection from rocks coming up and hitting the tank from underneath. So this tank is my main freshwater tank. It is 130 litres. I actually have another one coming that's 70 litres. So in total, if you do quick maths, I'm gonna have 200 litres of fresh water. One of my friends actually just told me last night the petitions in them are called baffles. And that's what stops that water sloshing and putting that big force on it. So baffles, I like that word. You learn something new every day. So this is my water tank gauge, and I have one for each tank, and they're already wired all the way up to the top. So I've ran this one's 7 meters long, and it just makes it here, which is lucky. But now I'm just marking where it's gonna go. So I'll have to drill out a hole in the wall, and then it'll sit through and it registers the level of your tank. Just to give you an idea of how thick the walls are on this tank. Good morning, the sun is shining, the water tanks are up, they're looking great, super strong, and I am actually slightly hungover after having a Zoom gathering with some friends last night, which was really nice, to be honest, to catch up with people. Now I am finally ready to put the plumbing fittings together. I am using John Guest fittings, which some of you might have seen. They're pretty common to use in vans. So the fittings are super easy to use. You just essentially cut your pipe to length. It's really, you want to have a pipe cutter that actually cuts a really nice clean cut, something like this, because you don't want any burred edges on the end. So cut it to length, you try and cut it nice and square, push in one of these pieces to harden it, and then you simply get your push fitting, it goes in, and you'll kind of feel the resistance go, and that's it, and it's locked in place. There's also then these red tabs that work as a locking piece to lock that completely in place so vibration can't let it go. And if you make a mistake or anything and you need to pull it apart, you simply just press in on this end bit and you're able to pull it out. Simple. I'm about to cut in another hole into the side of the van for the mains pressure inlet. This allows you to hook up a hose straight to the side wall of your van and fill the tanks from it. I'm gonna have to put it further down the line because I don't really have space on that side wall. Let's get into it.
And soon it's coming to take everything you know. Yeah. When that monster crawls out of the sea, you're gonna need somebody like me. When your brother's got blood in the streets, you better call somebody like me. I was made in the shadows, where the light ain't allowed to go. When the line gets a little blurry, you're gonna need somebody like me. Better call somebody like me, 'cause you want somebody like me. When the line gets a little blurry, gonna need somebody like me. When the monster crawls out of the sea, you're gonna need somebody like me. When your brother's got blood in the streets, you better call somebody like me. I was made in the shadows, where the light ain't allowed to go. When the line gets a little blurry, we're gonna need somebody like me. Better call somebody like me, 'cause you want somebody like me. When the lines get a little blurry, we're gonna need somebody like me.
Well, after a good 5 or 6 hours under the van today, an excellent way to spend a hungover Sunday, I have made significant progress. However, I've ran out of blue pipe and I need more to be able to get to the shower. So I'm calling it a night. It's starting to get a little cold. See you in the morning. Good morning. It is an absolute beautiful morning and kind of reminds me that it is getting very close to being spring here, which means that I have been building the van all the way through winter, which is kind of ridiculous. Anyway, there's still pipes hanging from below the van and I need some more parts from in town. So I can't drive the van. I've got another mode of transport ready. I'm gonna go duck to Dad's to get his car, get the pipes and get back at it.
I'm ready. Trouble, it knows my name. Trouble knows where I stay, and I'm living. Yes, I'm living. Tell me everything, tell me everything, tell me everything. Gonna be alright. It'll be alright. It'll be alright. It'll be alright. It'll be alright.
They didn't quite have everything I needed, but hopefully it's enough to get me through for now. I know that from the way that I've kind of shown you it so far, you're probably a bit confused about the system. I am going to run through exactly how it works, but I figured I'd kind of get the bulk of this installed first. So that means putting back on this disgusting jumper, but at least it stops me destroying any of the rest of my clothes. Time to get back under the van.
If tragedy came today, will we keep on keeping on? Worry don't do a thing. Worry won't steal my day. So I'm hoping and I'm praying and laughing and dancing. Tell me everything, tell me everything, tell me everything.
Look at this adorable little shower drain that I'm putting in. The way I'm doing it, 40mm hole saw through the fiberglass, so I better not screw that up, and through the floor. And then I'm hoping from underneath the floor, this has enough thread that I can screw this on to clamp it down. Little silicone underneath. Bob's your uncle. And that, my friends, is a perfect hole. And so now I'm just going to silicone around the shower drain hole to make that nice and watertight. This is what I wanted to show you from, so if you picture the shower drain going through here, this connects to the bottom of the shower drain. Then you make sure you've got downward fall so the water flows, because it's all gravity fed your grey water. And then it goes through this, which is called a Shutoff Valve. I think the idea is that it's a waterless trap, but essentially when the water gets through here, it's a one-way direction. You might be able to see that little arrow there. When the water gets through here, it blocks off again, so you don't get any bad smells from your grey water tank going up your shower drain. So as long as you've got fall through that section, you won't get that backlog of pressure or smells or anything.
You can't hold it all. You can't hold it all. Oh, tell me everything, tell me everything, tell me everything.
Welcome to my home away from home. I just wanted to point out something while I'm under here. In a perfect world, your grey water inlet is high up on your tank because it's gravity fed, and if it's right down at the bottom, as you can imagine, when water comes in, if there's water in the tank, it's going to be fighting against that pressure. So you want it high up, but the other side of that is you also want fall so it works with gravity. Otherwise, it's going to stay in your pipe wherever it goes back uphill. So the problem with my tank, I've already had to cap off because they've put my grey water way up the top and there's just no way to get to that with fall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down and I'm going to tap a new one just here. The further you can get it off the bottom of the tank, the better, but you're never going to get complete fall unless you're coming from directly above it. And whilst on the topic of the grey water tank, I've put this huge outlet on it, which is 1.5 inches down to 1 inch. And the thing I really like about this one is you can open it up, and if you look in here, you can change how open it is. So it can just, you could just have a trickle coming out, or you could, if you want to kind of empty the tank, you can open it right up full and that's going to get any debris out. Or, of course, you can close it up fully if you're in a national park or something. And there we go, a nice new threaded piece there, ready to accept my 25mm grey water hose. Pretty much all the plumbing is finally ran as far as it can go without having the sink or the external shower in place. Those ends I've just capped off. I am just letting the silicone set in the shower drain because I really want that to set nice and snug before I attach the grey water, because the last thing you'd want it to do is move and allow any water entry in or any leaks. So now I'm going to run the electrical for the pump because obviously it needs power to be able to go. I'm also going to have a nice little switch for that in my battery section. Give it 24 hours to all set, and I think tomorrow is go time. Good morning. It is the day we have all been waiting for. It is finally testing day, and where I'll run you through the system. I have moved the van outside with the purpose that if it leaks underneath, at least that way I'm not going to cause a mess over the shed floor and upset Judy. So it is out there. Unfortunately, the weather has been pretty shit the last couple of days. I actually went to do testing day yesterday and it was just so rainy and so windy I couldn't really do it. It also looks like it's going to piss down today, so my plan is to fill the tank out there, and then if the weather turns, I'll show you inside here exactly how the system works. Let's do it. I'm going to run through the system exactly how I'd use it in the van when I'm living in there. So first off, I have plugged to my mains connection. I now will attach the hose to my main inlet on the side of the van, like so. Okay. So currently there'll be pressure in all the mains pipes and I'm not seeing any leaks anywhere, so good start. Now, if I open this valve up, I should start hearing water start filling the tank. Perfect. I now know that the tank is full because the breather hose is overflowing and it is now starting to rain on me. Time to retreat into the shed. Well, the rain has died down a little bit. This is a sign of how much I like you all because I am about to get back under the van, which I'd kind of promised myself I was done with for a little bit. But I want to show you how that system works and then we'll test the shower. Follow me. Let's start at the entry point. So you saw that's where the mains connection comes in. That's also how I fill my tanks. Now, if we follow the pipe along from the inlet, the first junction we get to is this Y here. And what the Y joint does is essentially it brings one pipe into two. And then if you can see on this one on the left, there's a little arrow on it. And what this one is a one-way valve. And this side is to my mains. So this side bypasses my pump. And the one-way valve stops water wanting to recirculate through my pump and through my tank system. But let's follow along the blue pipe on the right for now, because that is what leads on towards my tank. Okay, so don't get confused by all of this just yet, but this is the same blue pipe we were following along. And it runs over to here, where it hits an elbow and then goes through to that shutoff valve that I showed you before. This is so awkward filming under here. But the shutoff valve is really important because, as I showed before, it is what either allows the tank to be filling, and when that shutoff valve is open, the tank can fill, and it also allows access to the pump. So that will mean that the pump will be what runs your shower, your tap, everything. But when I close that shutoff valve, that means that I am then purely relying on the pressure from the main system, from the hose that's hooked up to the van. And that pressure coming in is what actually provides pressure to your shower and everything, which is good for a few reasons in that it takes some of the workload off your pump, so it helps it from wearing out. But it also means that if you're hooked up to mains pressure, you can have as long a shower as you want, you know, within reason. But you can have a 5-minute shower or a 10-minute shower off the mains water and never touch your tanks. So it's just a very nice feature to have. And then, as you can see, it goes from the valve into the tank. And then from the main tank, it comes out of this outlet and flows along this pipe all the way to this T. And then you can see this pipe continues, but then has a little stop cap there. That is going to keep going along behind the van, and my second 70-litre tank is going to be in front of the spare wheel there, so it's going to fill at the same time. You can see this T also goes up, and it carries up to the pump here. Now this pump is designed, I've put it there, so it is going to drain out of the two tanks at once, so it will draw them up, and so that way they both go down at the same level. You can see that I've used white braided hose here on the pump rather than the blue hose, and that's because you don't want to use rigid hose right at your pump because there's a lot of vibration here and it can actually crack the joins around it over time. It also makes it quieter to use these. I still need to fasten these up properly. I haven't put all the clips on them yet. I should mention before it goes into the pump, it goes to a filter, and that just filters your water and stops any debris going into your pump. That's really easy to clean out. Then as it comes out of the pump, here's where you'll see there's a few connections. First off, there is another one way, and that is to stop any backflow of water going into your pump because you want water only to be going that direction. Then if you see this Y join, the other side is coming from that mains that I showed you earlier. So this is where the mains and the pump meet up and they all become one system after this. So this goes to another Y join. This end cap will go to my kitchen sink once it's there, but it's not in place yet. This cold water one goes back to another T, and on this side, another end cap because that's going to go to my external shower. That's also where that red hot water end cap's going to. Then if I go left on the T here, it goes across to here. And both of these T's, the hot water and the cold, go in under there and then shoot up through the van floor And that is where they go to the hot water unit, my gas instant hot water. That is what will heat all the water that goes around the van. And you follow the T's that way and they go an elbow up through the floor again. And that is what feeds my shower. Let's get out of under here and I'll show you those. Okay, so this is where the hot and cold come up through the floor, up to, this is the shower mixer behind there. And then it continues up to the shower head. Now you'll notice different piping here. That is because I couldn't get this connector in the John Guest, so I used shark bite. Time for the next test. In the interim between last week and this week, I installed this little switchboard in my electrical system, and the very first switch on it is the Freshwater pump. Let's turn it on. One easy way to test whether the pump is on, and I feel like this is the test that everyone's probably been waiting for. Let's try out the shower. It should engage once this goes on. As someone that has lived in a van for 2 years without a shower in there, wow, that is a thing of beauty right there. I know I don't have the gas hooked up yet, so I can't have actual hot water, but I think I'm gonna have to jump in the shower anyway to christen it, despite the fact that it's gonna be bloody cold. Thank you for indulging me on that tour through the system, but I feel like it's a bit of a balance because I know some people really want to learn how this all works, and then some people kind of just want to see the finished product. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. There was definitely a few lessons I learned from the plumbing, so let me instill them on you now, just in case you're looking to do something similar. First and foremost, I used thread tape, or that Teflon plumber's tape, around a lot of my BSP brass fittings, and I actually did have a couple of leaks from those. So what I changed in the end was I used liquid thread seal instead, and it is so much better and also so much easier to use. So I would do away with the plumber's tape, use liquid thread seal for any of those fittings that you need to put together. Secondly, as for the John Guest fittings, I thought they were good. I have to admit, I was very torn between going John Guest and the shark bite system. And in the end, obviously I went with John Guest, but it was partly due to availability. You could do a very similar system in shark bite, and I do think it has some advantages. One is that the pipe that it uses is slightly thicker in the internal diameter, so you're actually going to get a bit more flow through it. And I also feel, after using the shark bite for that shower head section where I had to there, is that it's a little bit sturdier, and I like the brass connections rather than all the plastic ones. And what else did I learn? Patience. Bloody patience. That took a lot longer than I planned because I was constantly waiting on parts and also waiting on the weather, but so glad to have it behind me. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Oh, and one other thing that I think some people are going to be worried about, and I guess I better address, seeing how I cut the exhaust off at the start of the video. I'm going to rerun that exhaust, and I know some people might be concerned that the tank and some of the fittings are a little bit close to the exhaust and it might heat up. My mates at Car Builders are actually hooking me up with some heat-proof products to help insulate those pipes and everything against the heat. I'm very confident that I'm going to be okay with the heat. So just in case anyone was worried about that, I have now addressed your imaginary worries. Whew. Don't forget to click the link in the video description below for 30% off your first go at Trade Coffee. I'd love to hear what you guys think of them. And I'm going to have a nice cold shower.
Tell me everything, tell me everything, tell me everything. Gonna be alright. It'll be alright, it'll be alright, it'll be alright. It'll be alright.
Oh, good God.